Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to me as well, because it's been a hot minute since I've posted anything. However, what I have grown to appreciate is that timing is everything. And what feels really good to me is that we have recently crossed the threshold of the new solar cycle. So, according to Human Design, the Rave New Year, Human Design New Year falls in that third week of January. Depending on where you live this year, might have been maybe sometime the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Um, and there was so much energy leading up to that time between just the sequencing of the end of each solar cycle, but also there were so many planetary retrogrades that for me, anyways, it was just really not a time to move forward. And what I love so much about human design is that it really allows me to observe where the mind gets so hung up on trying to force something that really is not meant to be forced. So I did go through some time between the holidays and now where my mind really wanted things to move forward. And of course, the usual internal narratives. Yeah, but you haven't posted in a while and the blah, blah, blah. But thankfully, thankfully, though I'm not fully through my first 7-year deconditioning cycle, I'm about 5 years, just over 5 years in now. And it's just been such a blessing to be able to observe all of that stuff going on in the mind and not needing to cater to it anymore. And so, with all of that, there have been some just really deep revelations. And so, I've got this new series called Gems from My Human Design Experiment. Can't make any promises as to how often I will post in this series, but every once in a while, there's either just like this a topic or sometimes these fine lines. Those of you who've been watching my channel, you know how much I love dilemmas, these fine lines that can exist in our experiment. So these are some of the things that might pop onto my radar to share with you. And look, some of these things are things that I may have felt very alone about, and yet there's an awareness inside of me that I'm not alone. And whether you yourself will be able to relate to some of the things I share here, or whether you know somebody in your life who possibly shares certain things with me that I have in my design that I share with you, it might open up some new insights and maybe ways in which, look, we sometimes don't realize the ways in which we can put pressure on others as a result of our definition. And sometimes it's just like naturally who we are, but sometimes it's because in not being aware, the way that we wield our energy can be, for lack of a better term, perhaps irresponsible. It's like we have the potential with this knowledge, with our experimentation, to become really, really self-responsible in the way that we wield our energy. And this isn't about walking on eggshells, and this isn't about um, like catering to everybody around us, but it really is about awareness. And when we become aware and when we wield our energy in ways that are self-responsible, it can dramatically change not only our experience of life, but our relationships as well. So look, for whatever this has to offer you today, welcome. It's great to be back. For those of you who are new to my channel, have never seen my videos before, my name is Melanie Halpert. I am a 5-1 quad right splenic projector on the left angle cross of wishes. So if that is incomprehensible to you, if you're really new to human design or just stumbling upon this, well, what this means is that I am a very natural and intuitive investigator. When I'm solid enough in my foundation, well, it's going to be time for me to universalize what it is that I have, I guess, taken in. And so much for me is about possibility and finding a better way, and especially finding a better way among sometimes things that just really aren't working anymore. I've been in the field of holistic health for over 20 years now. I've had my own private practice, my healing practice for, I think it's been about 15 years now. I am a certified body talk practitioner and a certified Living Your Design guide. And I am also pursuing professional analyst training with the International Human Design School. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. After 7 years, I am finally redoing my website. It's not going to be too fancy, but just really getting into deeper alignment with who I am and what my values are, what the pillars of my work are. And one of the main messages is something that I've kind of brought here to share with you today. As we stand on the precipice of a major global cycle shift and find ourselves amid an unprecedented time of transformation, our single most valuable asset will be the mastery of the way we manage our individual energy. Each and every one of us has a direct path to alignment and a way to eliminate resistance, no matter how obscured that may be from our conscious awareness. With a plethora of practical tools to empower one's way forward, I am here to help those who invite my guidance to release all that is not who they are, to recognize the distinct frequency of healthy alignment, and to thrive in this world as themselves. So with that, I would love to talk to you a little bit about some of my insights from my own human design experiment. And as you can see on this slide, so these are some images that I tend to use quite often. And you can see here on the left of the screen, there's this gray, swirling, cloudy gray mind. And on the right, there's this mind that's shining like a jewel. And we've got these words, this and that. So whether or not you're new to human design, just kind of reinforcing the beauty of the binaries that human design brings to our awareness, the multiple layers of duality, which are so powerful. So although the mind can be incredible to analyze, to compare, to measure, it's brutal when it comes to our decision making. I mean, that's really not what it's for. That's what human design says, anyways. None of this is from my certainty. I'm not here to be certain about anything. However, it has really felt correct for me to universalize Ra-Uruhu's certainty about something which has been very practical and very helpful to me. And so to just go even deeper into this concept of this and that, these layers of this and that, there's the esoteric and exoteric nature of human design itself. There's the binary of our definition, what is colored in our body graph, being what it is that we broadcast uniquely out into the world around us, along with what is not colored in, what is open, receptive, designed to take in. And of course, we have to look at the binary of conditioning and how conditioning can be conditioning until we become aware, and then the wisdom potential is revealed. So even though conditioning can be very difficult, human design offers us the ability to become wise about that conditioning. This is our greatest wisdom potential. That's what everything is all about. This is where we're going to school this lifetime. I mean, we all have to sit through school, whether it's traditional education, whether you're being homeschooled, whether you're being unschooled, there's all different kinds, but it's like the real school for each and every one of us is where we have come into this incarnation open. because that is where we are taking life in. Human design gives us the tools to become aware about that conditioning and for it to reveal these gems. So today, I really wanted to talk about social media, my relationship to social media. And this is something that has been such an intense journey for me. And kind of like what I mentioned earlier, it's something where I felt very alone in it in many ways. And yet I am very aware that I am not alone and that there are so many other people. Some of you may be watching this video right now who have really struggled with your relationship to this as well. And while I've struggled with it, in that struggle, it has really, really offered such a beautiful opportunity for awareness because it hits so many things in my design. It really has given me the possibility of opening my eyes in new ways and also of loving myself more fiercely than I ever have before. I mean, it goes without saying that social media can be one of the most ferocious, homogenizing forces of our time. And so many pressures on from so many different angles. And some people thrive in that medium and some people really don't. And how can we approach it from a place of alignment? You know, no matter what our relationship to it is, whether we want to engage with it or not, I mean, that really doesn't matter. But it's about however we're navigating. Are we navigating from a place of being unaware or from a place of being aware? Now, with this slide here, you can see that the emphasis is really on that swirling, cloudy mind. And we're in such a powerful time right now, not only as we watch these institutions crumbling, whether it's the like the governments or the financial institutions or the health institutions, all of these things that are breaking down as this global cycle comes to an end. I mean, it's so clear to many of us that it's a time to really take our authority back. Human design offers us, I mean, the most precise tools to know, well, what is my personal authority, which is not a one size fits all. We're not all here to follow our heart. We're not all here to follow our gut. We're not all here to develop our intuition. So really finding out what is inherently your own authority and taking your power back instead of outsourcing your authority to these institutions, maybe to other people in your life. So that's one layer, but it's a real wake-up call when we realize the extent to which we outsource our authority to our own mind to make decisions for ourselves, about ourselves, because that is really not what it's for. Like I said before, incredible when it comes to measuring, analyzing, comparing, but not when it comes to making decisions about our life. And so social media is a very, very, very powerful homogenizing agent that can really condition us away from our true nature when we are unaware. So here we have in the center of the slide, we have my body graph. So this is really my body graph. And I took out all the numbers and I took out all the planets, all that stuff, because it's not really what's important for us today. And to be honest, you know, human design, people can get so caught up in the nitty-gritty little details, which it can be really fun. It can, but it can also be really useless because at the end of the day, it's really simple. It's really, really simple. Is it easy to live one's design? No. but it is very simple. And the most important things of human design are very, very simple. Really, it's about understanding the way that your energy is designed to operate and what takes you out of alignment with that. And it's my passion to help other people become aware of this as I myself am deepening my own awareness in my own process. So we can see here that I've got 3 centers that are defined. And I'm going to actually get my little pen here so I can draw a little bit on my slides. So my consistency really lies in my splenic awareness, my identity, and my expression, communication. So we're not going to go too much into detail about that, but it's just to illustrate that for me, according to my own configuration, the big sources of conditioning, which are an asset at the end of the day, because as a projector, being conditioned it's tied into my superpowers, but only with awareness. So out of the 9 centers, I've got 6 that are always taking in, amplifying, distorting, and it can be really, really heavy, especially because of the combinations of the centers. So for those of you who have never taken Living Your Design, honestly, look, I'm about to start my 3rd level of professional analyst training. And still to this day, Living Your Design is my all-time favorite class. And it's the type of thing that just gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper the more you contemplate these concepts. Because even though, yes, they are the most basic concepts, they are the ones that are the most important, and I find can actually yield the most profound shifts in awareness. So one of the things that I really want to look at with you today is the grouping, the way that some of my open centers group together, and with social media, how it can be really challenging for me. So one of the big things is that I've got a completely open head center and an undefined root. These are the 2 pressure centers of the body graph. So the head center is it's mental pressure, inspiration, confusion, and the root center is more of a physical pressure like stress. But what this means, and for any of you who have 2 either undefined or open centers here, this means that I am constantly living in a pressure sandwich, always. I'm constantly taking in the mental and physical pressure of others, of the world around me. And if I'm not aware of it, I'm just on this hamster wheel and just locked in that pressure. I'm not here to make decisions based on that pressure at all. So one of the big things that happens to me with social media, especially when it comes to my completely open head center, is that I can get distracted into everyone else's stuff. Whatever it is, maybe it's what they're inspired by, or maybe it is what they're confused by. But whatever it is, this is stuff that is just literally being taken in and taken in and taken in. And if you remember, I am a quad right. All of my arrows point to the right, which means that I am ultra, ultra, ultra receptive, just taking everything in. Now, while some of that might be great, some of it might be an asset, certainly not all of it is. And I can get so taken out of alignment with what is actually priority for me. So one of the things that we really need to ask ourselves, it's like, well, what is your design? If you're a projector like me, what matters to us are the things that nourish and nurture our mastery, because we are here to guide those who recognize and invite us. I mean, it has to be a mutual thing, but if we're busy getting lost down all of these rabbit holes, Well, at the end of the day, suddenly you're called upon for something and you're stuffed full of all of this BS that has nothing to do with what you're actually here for. Yeah, maybe it was interesting, but was it aligned to you? Was it aligned to your authority? So I know full well as a splenic being that there is a lot of stuff that I end up investigating. I'm also a natural investigator. I get pulled into investigating all kinds of things that have nothing to do with what is splenically correct for me in the moment. And I would say that this has been one of the most underrated, but really important things for me to become aware with social media. And I can find myself then having 20,000 tabs open on my browser, going, whether it's like YouTube rabbit holes or there's something, and then it just like, it's like, I need to figure this out. I need to understand. It just puts my mind either under so much pressure to work something out, or it's like, ooh, like bright, shiny object syndrome, like, ooh, this is interesting. And then I just end up getting sidetracked into other stuff. So like really losing focus. And as a quad right, I mean, I'm technically not here to focus, but for me, it's all about presence. When I am getting into this thing where I'm getting distracted into everybody else's stuff, I notice that I am not present to the things that are correct for me. So, yeah, so here where I'm saying, think about things that don't ultimately matter to me. It's easy to justify it and be like, but yeah, that thing is really actually so important because I mean, look at what's happening in the world. But at the end of the day, I can tell you from my own experiment and my own experience that I'm starting to see how untrue that can be so many times and how much the mind will try to justify it. So if you are a generator or a manifesting generator, everything is about your satisfaction. If you've got an open or undefined head, are you getting pulled into all kinds of distractions that really have nothing to do with using your energy in satisfying ways? If you're a manifester, you're here to have impact. If you've got openness in your head, are you being distracted into things that literally have nothing to do with your impact? I mean, these are all things to consider. I mean, and of course, our reflector friends, maybe on some level, maybe you have a little bit more resilience with your awesome, powerful Teflon aura, but at the same time, you can end up getting lost into that stuff big time as well. And how toxic can that be for you? So, yeah, so that's one of the big things for me with social media. And I really realized that there are times of life where, not even times of life, I'm starting to see how much overall it is really, really, really critical for me to stay in my own lane. I can get very caught up in what other people are doing. And then I start to think about, well, maybe I should be doing these things. So it just sets all of this stuff into motion that could be entirely unnecessary, either if I'm correctly refraining from engaging on social media or if I'm engaging on social media with awareness. Another thing too with my undefined ajna is I'm not here to be certain about anything. And I can get really locked into these conditioned mental concepts. And I mean, especially look at what's going on in the world, how polarized everything is, and how easy it is to get on some kind of a bandwagon about who's right, what's right. And I'm really not here for that. And I've been so susceptible to getting really amped up, like really, really amped up. And what does it do? Well, it ends up siphoning my life force. I end up getting into completely useless mental debates with other people. And then the more certain somebody else is, then I have to be even more certain. And it's just a complete waste of time. I'm here to be really flexible mentally, to be able to just take stuff in and, be a screen, not a sponge. Another big one. So this is massive for me. really, really massive. So these four centers, so the sacral, the root, the solar plexus, and the heart or ego, these are the four motor centers of the body graph. And you'll notice in my design, they are all undefined, meaning that I have no motor definition. This is something that I'm starting to realize most people have no concept of what this actually means for somebody. And I'm not saying that I'm the only person who has four undefined motors. And I really hope that there is somebody out there watching this that also does, and that actually can feel some kind of validation about this. Because we live in a world that is predominantly motorized. And whether we could be dealing with a sacral being, generator, manifesting generator, or it could be a manifester, it could be another projector. Obviously, it won't be a reflector. So yeah, there might be like a lot of reflectors who can relate on this level. And what I find really fascinating here, sometimes I think about reflectors and how fiercely they need to honor themselves in terms of waiting a full lunar cycle to make a decision. And even though I will never know what that's like as a splenic projector, as somebody who has no defined motors, what I can relate to about that is how fiercely I need to honor the fact that I have four undefined motors, and how much I am always at the mercy of the energetic conditioning field, the motorized conditioning field. So there is always so much pressure on me to strive to keep up the pace and to produce. So this is something where it could really be seen as a handicap. But one of my biggest lessons in this lifetime, and something that I teach also, is really about victimization. It's like, I'm not here to be victimized by that. I'm here to be really wise about that. And I'm here to be very wise about which energy out there is actually healthy, which fuel out there is healthy. I am here to be very, very wise about that kind of stuff. So it's unbelievable through social media. Obviously the big enchilada here is the undefined heart center needing to prove or improve. And this one is, it's just so huge. I could probably talk about the center all day. But yeah, so it's like you see everybody doing all their things on social media. There's always this pressure that you need to keep up on that level to prove that you're relevant, to prove that you're competent, to prove that you're successful, whatever it is. And then there's just just that generalized need to keep up the pace, on so many levels. And another thing that I noticed is that whenever I would get on social media, I would get so overwhelmed because I would feel this need to absolutely have to scroll through the end. Okay, no matter how useless whatever it was in my feed, I would have to scroll through the end, because what if there was something posted by somebody that I didn't see, and I liked other stuff, but I didn't like that person's stuff. It was undefined. This undefined solar plexus is unbelievable in the sense of needing to be nice. And I would feel that in so many ways, very self-conscious about this, and very self-conscious and very guilty even sometimes if I were to like somebody's stuff but not like somebody else's stuff. And what if they see that I like that person's stuff? The things that it can do to the mind are completely useless and ridiculous. So there was not only in terms of needing to be nice scrolling to the end, but then there was all that root pressure. It's like, and like needing to get it done in a hurry. And I would always be filled, almost like I could feel my adrenals just like pumping. Okay, you need to get this done. But the problem is that the second that you log off your feed, well, there's already like another 15 to 20 minutes worth of scrolling that happens just like that. So it really felt like always being on this hamster wheel of needing to keep up with everybody else's stuff. And so not only that, but I am a 5-1. And as a 5-1, I'm not here for familiarity. I'm really here for strangers. I'm here for freshness. Familiarity breeds contempt. And yet social media, for some people, it's really a great thing because it brings the world kind of into a much smaller focus. It makes everybody so much more connected. And yet at the same time, there's this prevalent pressure to be up in everybody's grill all the time. And it's like, well, if I'm not posting, then I'm not relevant and people are going to forget about me. And then the list goes on. So there is, I mean, for all of us in many ways, there is this conditioning to initiate, while what is it, about 92% of us are not even designed to initiate, but also to act like an influencer. I mean, if I was a fourth line manifester, I mean, that would be my jam. Social media would be my friend. You know, when I was in the space to move forward, move into action, it'd be great. And I mean, maybe look, there might be some fourth line manifestors watching this that really don't feel that way. And it's possible. But my mind thinks that it would be really great in that respect. But I'm not here to be an influencer in that kind of fourth line familiar way, always being in people's feeds. I'm really here to, in my own fifth line way, make an impact. And although I don't engineer my appearances, my public appearances, I really notice how much more natural and better it feels for me when whatever it is that I'm putting out there is properly timed and not just doing it because there is something prodding me, telling me that if I don't, that I won't be successful. So as a projector, I mean, we all chase our signature with the mind. For projectors, we're always pulled out of alignment with who we are because on some level the mind thinks that this thing is what we need to do to be successful. So whether it's about like keeping up with what everybody else is doing and then like showing that I can keep up with that and then always being in the know about things, it's just this whole mind machine that can just completely hijack me away from my true nature. So between my undefined pressure centers and my 4 undefined motors, so the root is also a pressure center and a motor center. I mean, this can just be really brutal, not to mention how I can then get into those very polarized, watching what's out there in the conditioning field and getting really like identifying really strongly with whatever it is that I think or believe or know is right when I'm really not here for that. So that being said, with awareness, how can I navigate social media in alignment with my true nature? What is the wisdom potential? So some of it I talked about in that last segment, but I mean, ultimately, it really all revolves around having healthy boundaries relative to who I am. So really being aware that I am not here to keep up with anybody else's stuff. And that actually what is in my best interest is to really align my investigation to what is splenically correct for me moment by moment, to really prioritize and honor the things that nourish my projector mastery so that when somebody recognizes and invites my guidance, I'm actually going to have something practical for that person because my success, it's not by chasing things with the mind, it's through the success that I bring to others. That is how I succeed. So in playing out my correct role, not needing to be this initiating influencer, but to really have these correctly timed sharings with the correct individuals. And that's why YouTube has been so amazing for me as a 5-1, because it is a platform where when I have the inspiration and the energy, I can just put something out there. And then whoever is meant to find me will find me in their own right timing. It's not like I'm getting up on a megaphone and I'm making everybody pay attention to me. I'm really trusting that the right people will find me in their own timing. Not only that, but, and I'm hoping, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to end up doing a little segment about this sometime, but something that I'm really becoming aware of is that as a fifth line, there's this, the only way that I can say it is like transcending the algorithm. So before I was talking about how caught up we can get in, well, if I don't post often, people are going to forget about me. I'm going to become irrelevant. It is the furthest thing from the truth for a fifth line. And what I am seeing, and for me, anyways, I don't care how many subscribers I have. Honestly, the thought of even having a community that I need to just show up for and provide to on a consistent basis, like it's really just revolting to me. I don't like, that's not what I'm about at all. It just feels like this massive weight, just very repellent to me. So this way, it's like I feel like I transcend the algorithm in the sense that it doesn't matter to me how often I post. I Whenever I come into my YouTube, I'm like, how did I get this many more subscribers? I didn't do anything, but it's because people will find me in right timing. The number doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So if you are, especially a 5-1, a 5-2, but I don't know. I mean, maybe you're a 2-5, maybe you're a 3-5, maybe you're a completely different profile, and maybe this applies to you anyways. I don't want to pigeonhole anyone, but I just want to say that when it comes to myself as a 5-1, I see how it doesn't matter. I can completely step off of that wheel of having to post at regular intervals, because it's not about how many subscribers I have, and it's not about how often I post. It's not. So the bottom line is trusting in my aura and in the timing of my interactions. Something that I really noticed, some of you may have seen my video, I think it's Getting Messy in Your Human Design Experiment, where I talked about my experience with being very mentally rigid about strategy and authority, and how it ended up being really brutal for me. And I really, at that point, was so blessed in understanding that human design is not meant to be dogma. And when we rigidly adhere to strategy and authority from the mind, it's almost like it defeats the whole purpose. That said, every once in a while, there's this thing that happens in my process where it's almost beyond me. It goes beyond my mind, where I'm almost herded into very strict alignment with strategy and authority, but I'm not trying to do it at all. And so one of these things I noticed, it happens a lot with social media, where I get absolutely repelled from it, where I just have no desire to be on it. And in that, I always end up just kind of doing my own thing, really putting my energy into whatever is splendidly correct for me to investigate. And I will tell you, okay, look, it doesn't matter how much you read about human design, how much somebody talks to you about things. The only thing that can actually prove the legitimacy of this is your own experimentation. And it takes incredible trust in the process. And when we don't approach it from the mind and we're just really doing it from this organic space, it's so nuts. Okay. In my experience, it's been really nuts what's happened, because all of a sudden I see how effortlessly I am supported by life. Effortlessly. So I don't have to lift a finger. I don't have to do a thing. But my interactions are always impeccably timed. I always have enough money I mean, I'm not rich by any means, but I always have enough. And this has been one of the biggest revelations for me as a projector, because we can get very dependent on other people. We can get dependent on um, what we think that we have to do to thrive. And all I will say is that the more that I embrace these chapters that kind of force me into more of an introspective space where I'm not engaging as much, this reveals the most powerful things about who I am and about what is possible. So, anyways, that was really what I had to share with you today. I have no idea when when the next one is going to come out, but it was fun to just chat with you a bit today. So thank you so much. If you made it this far, stay tuned for more experiment gems. I do have a new website in the works. And hey, look, in the meantime, if you'd like to connect, if you're interested in having a personal chart overview, or if you've already had a reading, coaching by design, just kind of getting into the nitty gritty, whatever it is that you'd love to nerd out about and experiment with or get some insight about, love doing that. And not sure when I'm going to be holding my next Living Your Design Awakening, but it's definitely something that is brewing. So until next time, take care, be well, and cheers to your own human design experiment.